Hello everyone, my name is Dorian and welcome to another track guide. This one is at ILMS, Road America, LMP2. Fantastic weather, really good fun race it's gonna be. I love Road America. My best lap time is a 50 flat. And I reckon you can get a little bit more out of it with the Apex setup that I'm using. Track conditions are as follows: 24C, around 65, let's say 70% after those 10 laps I've done. Let's get to it. I'll show you guys the lap first, and then we're gonna go over bit by bit, show you guys my tips and tricks for this track. Alright, so we're coming up to turn number 1. We're looking for the brake marker. And that brake marker will be the 3 cone. You can see I'm lifting off as soon as I get to it, maybe slightly before. And we're braking very hard, 100%. And the first cone will be our turning point. So that's where I start really giving it a lot of input, and I'm starting to let off the brake as I do it. And we're heading into the corner. I'm looking for the curb on the inside. That is our friend. And trying to hit it early. As you can see, that's quite early and quite deep. Let's look at that from the outside for a second. I got almost all of the car, or as much of the car as I can really, on the curb on the inside. It's gonna upset the car just a tiny bit, but the setup from Apex is really good. The car handles it perfectly. And we're looking for the exit very early on the throttle. The car rotates well under power. Let's look at it from the inside. And we're going into it and coming out on the curb on the outside, straighten the wheel out because I'm losing the backhand just a tiny bit, which is what you want really, because you want that rotation. Pretty much everything but the right wheels is on the curbs here. Using all of the road and coming back. Don't take it too wide here, you get a 1x and it will upset the car. Coming up to turn number 2, looking for the braking point. We're looking for the 2 marker and the white line. We're gonna brake right after it. So I'd say 2 2/3 or 1 2/3. That's sort of our braking point. And I'm gonna brake very hard. Let's look at it from the inside. I'm gonna brake very hard into this corner, 100%. And as I hit the 1 marker, I start to let off and I start to turn in. Very gently, but quite early as well. So I wanna look for the curb on the inside here. And that's where all the grip is. As you can see, I'm really giving it a lot of angle to make sure I stay very close to the curb on the inside. I'm kind of looking for it. You can actually be a little tighter than that even, but make sure not too much to not upset the car. Looking for the exit. I'm probing for the grip, and we're headed towards the outside using all of the curb. very early and very early on the throttle to start probing the grip and maintaining the speed throughout the corner. Let's say that's around 50 to 70% as I'm playing around inside the corner and I'm hammering it here, looking for the curb on the outside. The wheel's much straighter, so I can give it more power, using all of the curb and then some. As you can see, you can put your left wheel here and you won't get a 1x. You can, my guess is a little bit more than that you will get a 1x, but this is about as much track as you can use without it. And we're through. Then I look for the shortest possible route, so I'm gonna hug the inside here and prepare myself for the next corner. Okay, so right around the 2.5 is where you want to start braking. You can see I'm already letting off the throttle here, starting to let it off and braking very hard diagonally into the curb on the outside, because we want to have a wide entry and maintain as much speed through that corner as possible. So right around here is where you want to be, and you want to start braking very harshly here, going to the outside and kind of straighten the wheel out. Make sure the car is straight before you really start turning. Into second gear, now into first. Just now I put it into first gear, so late but not too late, because you still want to carry the speed. And looking for the curb on the inside here. If you miss it by a tiny bit, not a big deal, but you want to put your left wheel on it. That will be an optimal line. Let's see how much curb I'm actually using. Just a tiny bit, basically kissing the apex. That's not gonna upset the car, but it will give me rotations. You can see the car rotates heavily right now because I'm in first gear, almost no throttle. The car is rotating very nicely. First gear, I'm looking for the grip, 40%, 50%, and as the wheel straightens out, you can see it's pretty straight right now. I'm gonna give it full beans and use all of the curb on the outside. It's not gonna upset the car. I'm getting really good exit speed towards the next corner. Now, right around here is where I like, because you're going uphill, you can brake very softly, and that's what you want to do because there's a crest here and the car straightens out after the uphill and you kind of lose weight on the tires. So you don't want to be braking hard into the corner because that's going to cause you to lose grip, whether on the rear tires or the front tires. The car's getting lighter. You're not going to have as much weight on the car. So you want to be able to brake quite early and softly into it. Let's look at the braking point. So I would say, as you can see, I got the radical signs here. You got 3 of them. So the first one is sort of my braking marker. Obviously, different field of view is going to have a different perspective here, but this is sort of where I start to brake, and I brake very softly, right around 50 or 60% for a minute, for less than a second, and then I start letting off immediately. Because as the car straightens out right around here, you lose a lot of weight. And you have to start turning in, so you don't want to have a lot of inputs here. You want to be very soft with your inputs. Turning in late, looking for the curb on the inside. That's your meal ticket. That's what's going to give you the most speed on this corner. Look at how much curb I'm actually using. Pretty much all of it. You can actually use a little bit more of it actually, but pretty much as much curb as you can. Taking the car to the outside, looking for the grip. I'm still not full throttling it. This is second gear corner. I'm looking for the grip, As the wheel straightens out, I'm gonna floor it. Using all of the curb on the outside. Let's take a look at it from the inside here. Braking, looking for the curb, and gently exiting the corner, making sure the car is lined up perfectly for the next one, because you don't want to stay on the outside here. That will be the inside for a very fast corner, and it's not going to be easy to take it. So we're gonna be very gentle with our steering inputs and the throttle here. I'm gonna lift just a tiny bit. You don't have to, but it's a little safer if you do. You don't have to lift here. It depends on the setup. This setup has a lot of rotation built into it. So I'm lifting just a little bit to make sure I don't overdo it and over rotate the car. Taking it very slowly, starting to turn the wheel early, looking for the curb on the inside. You want this curb. This curb is your friend. And I might have hit it a tiny bit too early. That's why I lifted. But it's better to hit it early and not hit it at all. And obviously, as the car straightens out, I can go back to full throttle, use the curb on the outside, and we're setting ourselves very nicely for the next corner. All right, so we're looking for the brake marker here. We're gonna go over it frame by frame and look for the point where I lift. This will be the 2.5. I'm braking very harshly and looking for a very smooth entry for this corner. Already at 80%, 90%-ish. I'm still lifting and I'm starting to turn in the car quite early because I'm looking for the curb on the inside where it cambers. That's the most important bit. You want to have two wheels here. That's going to suck the car in, give you a much better exit. So I'm starting to turn in quite early, as you can see. Way before the white marker here. Some people turn in later. I prefer not to. I'm turning in, second gear corner. Looking for you can see how dipped it is. It's gonna suck your car in. Let's look at it from the outside for a second here. It's gonna suck you in. Rotates the car. Tiny bit of brakes. Just a tiny bit. Can actually be pretty neutral here. And as soon as I hit it, I know I'm safe for the throttle. I will be probing for the grip from this point on, 50%, 60, 70, and all the way to 100, trying to be as smooth as possible, not to upset the rear end. You want to have a smooth exit here, or else you'll be losing a lot of speed out the exit. And into a double apex corner, very infamous carousel. You want to try to use it as a double apex. You don't want to have one line through here. You want to have two lines basically, or even three if you really think about it. Let's look at it from the outside first. Actually, I prefer going from the outside first. Nice and slow, full throttle, looking for the first apex. I'm missing it almost intentionally. This will be my first apex. Okay, so this is the first point where I'm getting the apex here, and dab of the brakes. The reason I'm doing that, I want to return the weight to the front of the car because there's a lot of turning you still have to do here. You don't want to scrub your tires. You want to maintain as much speed as possible. Just a little bit, and the car is nice and neutral now. It turns in beautifully. And I'm hugging the inside. I'm not going to go too wide here. And the reason for that, there's so much grip on the inside here. A lot of people will say go on the inside and then go very wide and then go back in. That's one way to take it. I'm not saying it's not a good line. I say with this car with so much downforce, don't let it go too wide. I am going wide for sure. There's no room for another car here. That's the one thing I would like you guys to keep in mind. There's no room for another car to sneak in on the inside here. And you're taking a very short route. And I'm very early on throttle because the track conditions are absolutely excellent for ILMS this week. So I'm starting very early on the throttle and I'm flooring it very early. This curb is your friend. If you're close to it, you know you're safe on the exit. If you're far away from it, you might be going too wide on the exit. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna be looking for the exit here, catching the curb. Let me show it to you guys from the inside, nice and slowly. Okay, so we're looking for the first apex. I'm not turning in too early. As you can see, I'm keeping the car wide, and this is my apex. There it is. All right, now dab of the brakes. I'm still giving it a lot of input. I want to keep taking a short route. I'm coming back to the throttle, and I'm giving it a little bit of throttle to probe it, and I'm seeing, okay, that's too early. See, I'm looking for where the maximum amount of grip will be, and this is not the point. If I kept it full throttle here, I would definitely go wide 100%. So I'm probing for it. No, not yet. Just maintaining speed. Waited a tiny bit more, and I'm coming back again. Okay, I have a wide enough arc at this point. I have a wide enough entry at this point for the next apex, and I can hug it and I can stay on the inside, and it's gonna make my life very easy to exit this corner quickly. Okay, very simple corner in this car. Nothing special you need to do. Start turning right before the 1 marker. So we're gonna get close to it. Use the curb on the outside. That's gonna make life very easy for you, especially when drafting. And start turning in softly, not a lot of inputs, absolutely flat out. Want to keep the car stable, and you want to hug the inside here. Look at how close I get the car to be here. And I might be touching it, but you don't have to. Let's see from the outside. Yeah, I am touching the curb on the inside. Not a lot though, anymore, and it will kind of upset the car. And I'm already planning for the exit, starting to straight out the wheel, using the curb on the outside, and we're through. Now, the way I like to set up my line here is go diagonally, so I'm kind of going a little wide here so I can take a short route, and then going wide again. I mean, you can go even a little wider here. It will set yourself up for the next corner very well. So the wider you'll be here, the easier it'll be to be as close to the outside for the next corner. Let's look for the braking marker. Right around the 3.5, tiny bit later than that perhaps, but right around the 3.5, that's where you want to realize you got to start braking very hard. Let's look at the cockpit view. We're looking for it frame by frame. This is where I let off the throttle, so 3.5 I let off, and I start braking hard, 100% on the brakes. I'm still straightening the car out to the left. That's because my line wasn't wide enough to set up the car perfectly into the braking point. So that's something you really don't want to do. You want to try to avoid it as much as possible, to having to correct the car while braking. You want to have a straight line, as straight a line as possible. And we're going into the 1 marker where I really start letting off the brake and adjusting the car into the corner. Light movement, looking for the apex, looking for the curb on the inside. You want to put 2 wheels on it, maybe a little bit on the grass as well, or on the gravel, whatever it is here. This is pretty much where I hit my apex. Let's look at it from the outside. You can see using all of the curb and maybe a tiny bit of the gravel. You can put your tire here, it's fine. It's going to rotate the car very nicely actually. And we're going to go back to the cockpit view and let's take a look at when I'm starting to exit. So you can see I'm already off the brakes and starting to hit the throttle a little bit. Go back a few more frames. Very little neutral time here. So from the brake to the throttle pretty much immediately, as it would be with this car, because a high downforce car, you want to be either on the brakes or on the throttle for 90% of the time. Very few times like the carousel where you have to be a little neutral. Starting to probe for the grip, 40%, 50%. I'm not being too hasty with it. I'm giving it some time to straighten out. Make sure the rear end doesn't kick out, because it does love to kick out here. And if it does, you lose a lot of speed. I'm still turning. I'm straightening out the wheel to prepare myself for full throttle. I'm already at around 75%. And I'm hammering it. The rear end's going to rotate a little bit. I'm going to straighten out some more, and then I'm going to line it up for the next corner. Okay, so I'm using the curb on the outside here. I want to show it this angle from the outside. I'm using the curb on the outside here because that's going to give me a nice wide entry. Take it frame by frame, full throttle. You can lift, you can full throttle it, up to you. I like lifting here. And turning early using all of the curb on the inside. It might make the car bounce a little bit, but it's going to make this corner so much easier if you get close to this curb and you know, either kiss it or hug it all the way through. You know, there's a lot of love involved with this curb. And my main objective is to avoid the curb on the outside, because that will give you floor damage. Don't want to be touching this curb at all. So I'm trying to avoid it, going way over the white line here. It's fine, it's not a 1x, and it's actually very good to line yourself up. It's very good to be wide here, so you can line yourself up diagonally for the next corner. And the reason I'm lining myself up diagonally is because I want to have my wheel straight. You can see I'm coming back, to the middle of the track, you can see there's a lot of rubber here, but there's no rubber here. That's sort of a good indication why you need to be in the middle here. Looking for my braking marker. There's a lot of braking markers here. As you can see, you got the sign up top. You got the shadow it gives you in certain weather conditions. And you have the white marker here. I'm already braking quite early here. 3 marker. I'm already braking quite early. I want to make sure the car is lined up for the exit, because the exit here is one of the most important exits of any track anywhere. Using a lot of brake at first, around 60, 70, 80%. But the reason I'm not going full brake is because I'm still turning the wheel a little bit, because I'm lining up the car for the entry of the final corner. I'm using all of the track. I'm braking diagonally into the curb on the outside. You can miss this curb, you can stay on the tarmac, it's not going to be a huge deal, but you want, if optimally, you want to use all of the curb. So I am using the curb, and I'm really starting to turn in now. Looking for the apex, looking for the curb on the inside. It looks like I'm gonna miss it. Yeah, looks like I'm gonna miss it, but the good thing about what I just did is because I used so much of the track on the outside, I can afford to miss it. That makes sense, because I'm carrying a lot of speed going wide here, so I can sort of afford to miss it. Definitely more speed if I turned in a little earlier. If I would have turned in earlier and really hugged this curb and put 2 wheels on it, I would have had more speed here. It would have been a sub 50. But since I was carrying so much speed on the outside, it didn't damage me that much. I was able to kind of maintain throttle throughout the corner. As you can see, a lot of throttle. That's like anywhere between 60 and almost 70%. I'm using a lot of throttle, looking for the curb on the outside now at this point, and giving it the beans on the exit using all of the curb. Okay, so I just want to show you guys the final 2 corners, because one lines up the other. And we're gonna keep carrying the speed as much as we can. Small lift to make sure I line up the car correctly for the last corner, which is more important to me than this one. I'm basically taking a compromise, braking early, using the curb on the outside, not really touching the inside curb, which is a shame. Could have been a little bit more speed through there, and that will line us up correctly for the exit. We're gonna have enough speed not to be overtaken by other people, and it'll put us in a 50 flat, which I reckon is a decent enough time for ILMS. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, all those good things. I got my Twitch channel up here, and yeah, if you enjoyed it, let me know in the comments. If you think there's other things I could have done or added to the guide, let me know, and I will definitely keep that in mind for the next one. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.